All right, Shalom, Shalom. Barakatah Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles, elder bishops here at Great Millstone. Shalom to you brothers who are pushing the work of truth with all sincerity. The name of this lesson is you cannot solve a God problem with human solutions. Okay, you cannot solve a God problem with human solutions. All right, and what I'm alluding to is, basically what's coming down the pike, which is, an overwhelming pretty much pressure that Esau is going to apply, and many, Jake, are going to, put themselves in situations because of their own, independent thinking outside of the Lord. We essentially are given, instructions on how to be, in this world, be peaceable with all men, what's this, wise as serpents, harmless as doves, agree with thine adversary. These are all basic principles that we should know, again, because the Lord, he ruleth in the kingdom of men. The scriptures also say in Romans 13 that we're supposed to, be subject, to the higher powers, essentially follow the rules that they put in place. But it's going to come a time where those rules are going to compromise essentially our relationship with the Lord. And we're going to have to make a decision. And the Lord clearly told us that, we're not supposed to choose, in my own words, anyone outside of him, and we're coming to a time where, that decision is going to have to be made. Okay. But a lot of Israelites, children, essentially, that act independent of the Lord. All right. Let me see something. They're going to choose Esau's side. And that's going to be a detriment to them. It's going to ultimately lead them to destruction. All right. The Lord said it. Revelation is the 14th chapter. I believe the 9th verse. The Revelation is the 16th chapter. Clearly tells you what's going to happen if you choose this man's side. Because he's going to present something which we know is the mark of the beast, that RFID chip, which is going to allow you to buy and sell. He's going to present that. And he's going to present it as something that you absolutely need. That's absolutely necessary. That's absolutely logical in, a world that is, pretty much war torn. That, because, again, this is going to come at a time where things are going to be, dire. At a time where things are going to be in complete chaos. So he's going to present it as something that's very necessary. Okay. And a lot of people they're going to, receive it as such. They're going to look at it as such, as necessary. They're going to look at it as logical. Okay. And some might even believe themselves to be courageous by taking what he will present. And that's why, even though those, it may seem that way, right? It's disobedient because if it's not what the Lord told you to do, all right, you're not supposed to do it. Okay, that's clearly why the warning is there. It's clearly why the prophecy says what it says, Revelations 13:15 on down, Okay, and it told you, it warns you, for the number of his name. All right, his 6 score. What? How's it go? Yeah, I'm looking up on a computer. Right. It says Revelations 13:18. Let's just get it. Okay. Clearly a stark warning. Revelations 13:18. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 600, 66. All right. And he clearly is giving stark warning. And we know who bears that number. And especially, what the industry that he mostly uses that number for. And that's in, buying and selling, All right. Because everything has what they call a UPC code, a universal product code. All right. Those are all the items. And this man is tokenizing every item and putting it on a blockchain. Okay, so he's revamping the whole economic system so he can digitize money. All right. And we're supposed to be warned of it. We're supposed to be able to see it. We're supposed to be watching for him, doing this. Okay. So let's go back. But this is what we're supposed to be doing. Proverbs 16:2, all the ways of man are clean in his own eyes. See, and this is the disconnect, or this is the fault. All right, because the scriptures say that there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but are the ways of death. So you may be doing something that's you may feel right about it. It may feel necessary. It may seem not logical. Okay. Your independence outside of God, making plans, strategizing, seeking advice, figuring things out on your own. Okay. It may seem clean. All the ways of man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirits. Okay. Commit thy works unto the Lord. Right. And this is the point of it all. Committing yourself to the works of the Lord. And that's by what? Uniting yourself. I believe that's the word for commit. Yep. Give in charge. So you giving the Lord a charge over you. Okay. So in other words, that means what? You're pretty much dedicating your life to search him out and to become, the word here, it says unite right there. You're uniting with the Most High, which, and that's by connecting yourself by what? Becoming one with him, which is what? It's simple. You're reading, you're searching him out, you're seeking him. And the scriptures talk about those that seek him. Okay. And the scriptures say what? Seek him while he may be found. Okay. Those that come to him must believe that he is, and that he's a rewarder.
Today I made a bouquet completely blindfolded. The trick is to have at least 2 types of flowers and 2 types of greenery.
All right.
I think it turned out pretty good.
So going back, Proverbs 16:3, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Okay. Your thoughts, your ways. Okay. Your way is going to be established, because what? Essentially, the Lord is going to give you the plan. All right. And it's a spiritual thing. Okay. So what? You got to inquire of the Lord. Firstly, Isaiah 30:1. But again, our people, what? Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me. See? And that's where the sin comes. Right? You take counsel, but it's not of the Lord. All right. So you making plans, again, strategizing. You figuring things out on your own. Okay. But the Lord is essentially saying, you didn't ask me. All right. It don't mean that you didn't pray, but your decision has already been made up. You already determined. All right. And that is these Jakes, that's what makes them independent of the Lord. Okay. Let's see here. Lord willing, this is making sense. All right. So that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with the covering, but not of my spirit. And we're supposed to what? We're supposed to be after, we're supposed to have the mind of the Lord. Let this mind be in you, as the scriptures talk about, with Yahweh Shai, and he is the example of how to be. All right. He is the example of how to think. Let's see here. What else now? Right. In verse 2, it says that walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. And that's what's happening now. Our people are going to Egypt, which America is spiritually Egypt. Okay. They trust in the strength of this place, which is what? Military. What else? Politics, political strategies, political, so other words, basically, so like it escapes me. Oh yes, political security, and they trusting in all these things, and all it's gonna do is upset them. You're gonna be upset at the end of the day, So, yep. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. See, you're going to be confused and perplexed and know not what to do in that time, because Jake is going to trust in this man. All right. But what did the scripture say? Very, very basic. And these very basic scriptures are going to mean the world when all society collapses. Okay, because this word is what establishes societies in the first place. All right, and this basic understanding and the little faith that we have is much more than the wealth and the accomplishments of these people in this world. Proverbs 3:5 says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Okay, so we acknowledge what the Lord, what his way is, what his will is. Okay, and not our own. So let's see here. Proverbs. Let's do Zechariah. Do Zechariah chapter 4. Okay. Verse 6. Because this is a spiritual thing. This is a spiritual thing, and you're going to have to be spiritual to deal with what's coming. All right. You're going to have the mind of the Lord. And that's what the Lord requires. He requires you to have his mind and not basically your own, because his mind is the perfect mind. It's the perfect way to think. So Zechariah 4:6, it says, then he answered and spake unto me, saying, this is the word of the Lord Yahweh unto Zerubbabel, saying, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, said the Lord Yahweh of hosts. You see, who art thou, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel thou shalt become a plain, and he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, grace. All right. Grace unto it. All right. Right. So, Salakia. But yeah, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit are we going to be able to, overcome what whatever blockades that come, whatever affliction that comes, whatever trial that comes. Okay. See, Psalms. And overall the trend, the problem is with our people is that they are not united with the Lord. They're not at one with the Lord. They're not connected to the Lord, because they're going to be making decisions in their own independence, in their own ignorance. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, we all know this one. Psalms 127:1. It says, "Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain." All right. NLT says, "Unless the Lord builds a house, the work of the builders is wasted." Right. If the Lord didn't set it up, then it's going to fail. Okay. You got, Jake, they building communities and coming together. All right. But if it's not sighing and crying against, wickedness and abomination and calling on his name, then it's all for naught. All right. Let's see what else. Salaki for the background noise. All right, Salaki, man. Goodness gracious, bro. Yeah. Anyway, let's go to the next point. Yeah, you can build, you can work, you can plan, you can organize. You got people gathering resources, but if the Lord ain't the builder, if he ain't tell you to do it in the first place, it's going to be in vain. All right. It's going to be in vain. All right. So let's see here. Let's go back to Isaiah 30. And Lord willing, this is making sense, man. It says that this is a rebellious house, or people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord. Okay. And that's the problem. I mean, now the law of the Lord is what? Faith. Okay. Everything we do is by way of faith. Okay. Calling on the name, doing the work, going out there teaching. It's all about way of faith. All right. There's no other, there's no other reason. Okay. Which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things. Prophesy deceits. NLT says, tell us nice things, tell us lies. And they don't want the men of the Lord, the prophets, to see, all right, and to reveal that vision. Okay, that's why a lot of Israelites have a problem with, us mentioning Jacob's trouble in a time of, affliction, great affliction, and, uncomfort, your comforts being taken away. All right, that's to them, they don't want to hear that, but that's the reality. That's what's coming. Okay, and all we're doing is telling you, prepare yourself, be more so, more tapped in, more tuned in to the Lord. Okay. So, see here. See verse 9 and 10. Right. So God sends instruction. They don't want it. All right. They want the men of the Lord to tell them what they want to hear. Okay. So let's see here. All right, 2 Timothy. Second Timothy chapter I don't know why I didn't write the chapter and verse. So I'm just looking at my notes real quick. All right, 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3. It says, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. And NLT says wholesome teaching. Okay. But after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. Okay. NLT says they will follow their own desires and will look for teachers who will tell them whatever their itching ears want to hear. Okay. And it says, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, which is going to be a detriment to their own souls. Okay. It's going to be a detriment to their own souls. Okay. But this is what the scriptures say will happen in our time. Okay. It even happened during the time, of the apostles toward the end of their ministry. Okay. You had many that lost faith because of the crackdown or the pressure that the Romans brought. And it's coming again. Okay. And shall be turned into fables. Right. And shall be turned unto fables. Right. Okay. And that's what's happened too. You got a lot of people are being seduced. Isaiah 30 and 15. Let me jump back. Isaiah 30 and 15. It says, for thus saith the Lord, Yahweh power, the Holy One of Israel, in returning and rest shall ye be saved. Yeah, there you go. All right. In returning and rest shall you be saved. Okay, but of course, our people want the opposite. They're gonna choose what Esau is giving them, and it's, it's gonna lead to their destruction. All right. In returning and rest shall you be saved, in quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. That's it. That's what we need above all. Okay, confidence, because there's going to be a time where the truth is taken from the airways, and speaking truth is going to be a crime, essentially. And people are going to be up without hope. The scripture talk about that, the famine of the word, So people, they're going to have no real counsel. Okay. But what these very basic precepts that we're reading is going to be our confidence. It's going to be what comes in our minds when things are dire. And it's just going to open us. It's going to open up our understanding and give us comfort. All right. Confidence shall be your strength, and ye would not. Right. Saying you don't want it. You want none of it. See? So, and with all our might, we're going to return to the Lord. All right. And we're going to look to him to solve the problem and not ourselves or anyone else for that matter. Let's see here. I had James chapter 4, verse 13. Let me see what it says. Yeah, it says, go to now, ye that say today or tomorrow, we will go into such a city. Yeah, you got Jake planning and saying things that they're going to do. All right. But it says, and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. Whereas okay, not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will. Right. And you got Jake, don't even say that. You don't hear that in their conversation. I know for one, I don't say anything I'm going to do without saying the Lord will. Lord will. Okay. And that's how the men of the Lord going to think. And you're going to be after the mind of the Lord, because what David was. All right. And that's what the Lord accepts. Okay. When you put on a different spirit, when you put on a different And you know, that's fornication, you know. All right. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. Okay. But now you rejoice. Right. So, yeah, Lord will. All right. Lord will, you know. Who's to say we're going to be, saved? All right. The scriptures talk about the righteous being scarcely saved. Okay. So you're going to have Israelites that believe and still going to have to deal with the fate of being in the valley of the shadow of death. You know, there's uncertainty here, you know, and especially if you're putting your trust in the carnal things, the material things, prepping and, strategizing and all of that. That's cool to a certain extent. But if you don't say, if it's not the Lord's will, man, it's pretty much in vain. It's all for nothing, So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I had. That's, just some precepts that I had on my mind this morning on the topic. All right. You can't solve a God problem with human solutions. You always got to go back to the source. All right. And, trusting in this devil and what he has, right, is only going to lead to your ruin. Okay. Because that's the direction that he's going in. All right. So with that, I'm going to say shalom. And until next time, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatah.